All right, Slava, Rubin, welcome to Decrypt.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. Super exciting.
All right, well, let's talk about Vincent. You launched it in November amid the pandemic. Of course, we're still amid the pandemic, but talk to us big picture about what you guys have seen with that platform and what kind of the pitch is for people to go on and check it out and see what you got listed.
Yeah, so alternative investments are super hot, and there's tons of options out there, whether it's real estate, venture, trading cards, NFTs, crypto, litigation finance, horses, you name it. And we're just looking to aggregate that massively fragmented market into one place. So we're the on-ramp, the entry into navigating alternatives. Think about it like a Zillow or a Kayak or a SeatGeek, a search engine to start thinking about alternative investments.
Yeah, you mentioned Zillow, and of course we had that viral SNL skit, which was very good for Zillow. It's a good kind of platform to aim for. What kind of people would come on Vincent and look around? Is it just rich investors who have extra money in their pockets to play with? Are you seeing that it's young people? Because amid the pandemic, we've really seen that explosion in the retail investor.
Yeah, so you have to have some net worth that you're willing to deploy against an alternative asset, but you're not some super rich family office. So the target market is anybody who has, let's call it 100K of net worth, all the way to a few million and everything in between. So if you want to invest $500 or $50,000, we have lots of options for you, whether you're an accredited investor or unaccredited.
I mentioned the rise of the retail investor that we really saw with, Robinhood and the GameStop madness, and it feels like accelerated during the pandemic with people at home swiping on their phones. There also, in a broader sense, before the pandemic, was this explosion in fractional ownership in the collectibles market. We saw a lot of platforms launch that do that. I mean, I remember back when people used to talk about fractional ownership for a plane, or a boat, but now we're seeing it with art collecting and sneakers. How are you guys tying into, or I guess kind of latching onto that trend?
Absolutely. So fractional ownership is definitely what's happening, and there's lots of platforms that are doing it across many verticals. But like you mentioned, in sports cards and collectibles, there's Rally, or there's Otis, or there's Collectible, and all of them are on our platform. And you can see all of their deals in one place as opposed to having to go to separate platforms to get identified. Plus, if you want, you could just set your alert of the search that you're looking for, and when there's new deals for that specific search, we'll hit you up with it. And you mentioned around the Robinhood type investor. As a matter of fact, we just came out with our February monthly report about all the data, and actually for the first time, the sub $1,000 filter for the Robinhood style investor looking for crypto has jumped up into the top 5 searches. So we're definitely seeing these Robinhood style investors looking for alternative investments.
Yeah, you had mentioned to me that for now, the top kind of categories on the platform are VC and real estate opportunities. But of course, crypto searches are growing the most. Crypto searches grew the most for the last 2 months in a row. Now, does VC not include crypto? Because there are also ways in which you wonder people might want to invest in cryptocurrency companies separate from outright buying crypto.
Yeah, it's a great question. So in terms of scale, the biggest alternative asset classes are the venture and are the real estate. And in terms of the growth for digital assets, we're seeing 44% growth in digital asset searches this past month and a 23% growth in collectibles. But yeah, crypto is both inside the venture category or it's a digital asset just like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or something like that.
Yeah, because what's really interesting, obviously, there are an increasing number of ways to try to invest in crypto beyond just outright buying it. I mean, yes, you could buy it within Robinhood, you could buy it now within PayPal, you could buy it within Square, you could buy it from Coinbase, but then soon Coinbase will be public and you wonder if people will buy Coinbase stock as a way to be in crypto without buying it. And then there
are a proxy of an index. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are options like Grayscale, there are kind of workarounds. What are specifically some of the crypto-related investment opportunities that you are seeing people click through on your platform?
Yeah, so we're seeing everything from basic wanting to get exposure to Bitcoin, potentially directly through Coinbase. We're seeing folks who want to get exposure to Grayscale, so more of a managed product that they can get, whether it's the unaccredited or the accredited level investment. We're seeing folks that are interested in blockchain and crypto-oriented venture companies, like you mentioned. So these are equity crowdfunding raises where somebody has exposure to the blockchain or crypto. And most recently, I mean, as part of the trend, we're seeing the NFTs, we're seeing people interested in NBA Top Shot, we're seeing people interested in So Rare, we're seeing people interested in these different, so there's a lot of interest across various crypto, which is, it's no surprise that it's one of the hottest segments on our platform.
Yeah, you mentioned NFTs. Of course, I was going to go there and get your take because it's almost the ultimate expression of all this, right? I mean, there was the proposition of cryptocurrency, which itself is still, Bitcoin's only been around 10 years. In the big scheme of things, pretty new. And then within that now, the NFT marketplace is exploding, but that is so new. And the prices on some of these platforms like Top Shot are surging so quickly that a lot of people worry about a bubble. What do you make, especially not just as the founder here of Vincent, but from your Indiegogo days of the NFT space?
I mean, I think NFTs is super interesting, super interesting. I'm also just a traditional card collector for 30 years. So I know it's become like super hot to get like a Michael Jordan rookie or a Mickey Mantle card. And now NFTs is really at the convergence between blockchain and crypto and collectibles. Add in the fractional ownership and validation of authenticity and all of that. I think it's very, very interesting. Are we in a bubble? I mean, yes, some people are going to pay too much for something that probably isn't worth it. Are some people going to invest in something today that 10 years from now might be worth 1,000 times that? Absolutely. But you also had a lot of stocks that popped during the 2000 bubble, and you also have Amazon. So it's really a matter of, finding the right opportunities, finding the right investments. If you're trying to do like a get rich quick scheme, it might be tricky because the market might fall from under you. But if you're willing to, make an investment and see where you want to go with it, I think it's very interesting. I personally think NBA Top Shot is remarkable. And it's because they did a great job of commercializing the opportunity. I don't think a lot of people that use NBA Top Shot say, I love the tech. It's really great, software. They're just enjoying the experience, which is what I think is critical to make a lot of these blockchain applications approachable.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you mentioned you're a traditional card collector because the prices of, I don't want to say real, but physical trading cards have surged also in the last few years. And during the pandemic, there have been the pack drops that are happening live on YouTube. And now the NFTs are just the digital expression of that, but there's still clearly a wall there when you try to explain it to a lot of people. And I understand that. People say, well, I can't touch it and hold it, and it's digital, and the prices are this high. There's a little bit of an education curve there.
I mean, Topps and Panini have been trying to get into more real-time kind of digital cards for years, whether it's the Topps kind of like spontaneous card of the moment, like the Dr. Fauci card, or whether it's Panini trying to have like blockchain-oriented infrastructure. So I think everybody's trying to move to, let's call it V2 of card collecting. And I thought getting that NBA license and the experience is just quite seamless with NBA Top Shot. I wish I was an investor. I'm not, in the actual company. But I also think the underlying protocols are interesting. I think it's interesting that the Dapper Labs team created Flow as an alternative to Ethereum. And that, too, is another opportunity as to how to invest into these various options.
What was your view, Slava, on crypto and kind of Bitcoin before ever starting Vincent? I mean, you were the co-founder of Indiegogo. At one point, you guys had listed someone that tried to sell a token. What did you kind of take away from your Indiegogo days on where the crypto space might be heading?
Yeah, so you're referring to, while at Indiegogo, we helped tokenize the sale of the St. Regis Hotel in Aspen, which was one of the most blue chip assets, sold on the blockchain early. And so I've always been a fan. I think it is early. Now it's not as early because you're starting to see, like you mentioned, PayPal and others really move into this. And I don't think we're at the ninth inning at all. I think we're probably like in the top of the third inning as to finally some regular people are connecting with it, whether it's the random NBA fan in Idaho or the major institution that is talking about this in New York. I think that makes it much more interesting in terms of what the potential is. I've been an investor personally into various coins. for several years, and I think there's a lot of opportunity into the future. I also think it's a volatile asset, and you just need to invest accordingly as part of your portfolio, which is exactly what Vincent is trying to offer, which is give you access to those alternative investments as a mix as part of your entire portfolio. In 2020, it's the alternative assets were about 7% of the wallet of America, and the projection is for it to hit like 15% by 2030. So there's a huge opportunity for people to want to get with alternatives, especially as things become more transparent and everybody understands what their options are.
For our viewers and readers at Decrypt, many of whom are already kind of deep in the crypto space, what's your pitch for Vincent? I mean, if one of them wants to get exposure to coins, they probably have a exchange they use and they know that they can go there to buy. What can they find and kind of search around on Vincent? Is it the appeal of organic discovery? Is it for when you aren't yet sure of the specific thing you want to buy, but you have a little bit of money to play with and you'd like to see what's out there?
I think the last thing you said is exactly what it is. So if you have an extra $500 or $50,000 you're trying to decide what to do with, and you want to discover, you want to see your options, you want to maybe explore a little bit, Vincent's a great place, one-stop shop to go look across all of your potential options. You might even go down the rabbit hole. I had no idea I could fund litigation finance. I had no idea I could buy wine and invest in it. Now, if you know exactly that you want a specific type of horror movie, you go to a horror site, you'll find the horror stuff, and you're not going to be able to find some regular movie place to tell you what's the right horror film. So I'm not going to tell you a new Bittrex or a new Coinbase. But if you're open-minded as to what you're looking for, we have the widest selection of alternative investments in one place. So if you know you want to put another $50 into Bitcoin, go to wherever you're going to do that. That's not the right place to go for Vincent. But if you want to be open-minded and discover new options and maybe hedge and have a more diverse portfolio of alternatives, Vincent's a really great place to start and educate and learn about your options.
Let's end, Slava, with kind of the pie in the sky view here for our world, the crypto world. You are a serial entrepreneur, you're a tech veteran, Indiegogo, Vincent. As you've been through your career and looked around now and you've seen the different changes with adoption of crypto, we talked about big companies like PayPal and Square. We talked about regular folks, retail investors getting in, Wall Street investors, more and more investment opportunities. Where do you think this space will be in 5 to 10 years? What does that look like?
Alternatives?
Well, alternatives, and then specifically with crypto investing.
I mean, I see crypto investing as one of the slices of alternative investing. I really do think that this decade, between 2020 and 2030 will be the decade of alternatives. I think the idea of people have been educated that they should keep their money, in a money market account and get a little bit of interest, maybe not underneath their mattresses. They've learned they should try to, optimize their retirement accounts and have 401ks. They've learned that they should maybe start powering their own finances with Robinhood or with, their wealth fronts or their betterments and their other kind of financial products. But still, alternatives is massively opaque, highly fragmented, and totally confusing. And I think this decade is really the decade where people like you and I and the folks that are already using Robinhood and these other apps will really lean into alternatives. And, I think it's also going to become cultural. People will be open about talking about the things that they're investing into because it'll be fun to discuss. It'll be interesting to talk about that I'm into Ethereum or I'm into wine investing. I like buying Michael Jordan cards, or I just bought, some exposure to airlines via some debt instrument. So I do think that it's going to be a very exciting decade.
Well, it's funny. I really like how you pointed out maybe a cultural shift, because there is still, for a lot of people, that stigma around Bitcoin or other coins. The idea of, I don't understand it. You said a lot of this is opaque still. Yes, it's gone more mainstream, but there are still people who just, I think Bitcoin is somehow vaguely associated with cybercrime. We're going to see those narratives change, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And, you got to admit, in 17, when things were really ramping up with the previous jump up, it was still very complicated to be involved with Bitcoin, right? I mean, now you're seeing a lot more user experience improvements and really these large organizations making that accessibility way better. And I think that's only going to continue to improve. Once you start getting into the option of putting a portion of your retirement account into Bitcoin or crypto or into alternatives, you're really seeing big dollars, and it's starting to really matter. Because are you going to do a 60-40 between stocks and bonds? Or are you all of a sudden going to do a I don't know, 50, 35, 15, right? Where 15% of it is against alternatives. And how do you want to do the 15% alternative mix? Is it 5 crypto, 5 real estate, and 5 collectibles? I mean, that's interesting.
That is really interesting. All right, Slava, Rubin, and Vincent, thanks so much.